Good morning and welcome back to the Dawg Show, your source for the latest Empire news and sports. I'm your host, Mace Monteith.
And I'm KK Smith. We hope you all had a great Labor Day weekend. It's another short week, but there are plenty of activities going on at Empire.
Dawg Pack meets every Thursday at lunch, and all of the yearbook staff is still selling yearbooks. Get in touch with Mrs. Field for more information. And also this week, the FFA went to Colt Conference in Norman.
Our very own Mace Monteith was chosen to serve in the opening ceremonies team. Of the 66 FFA chapters in our area, only 6 students were chosen for this honor. Good job, Mace. And also congratulations to our September Students of the Month, Cooper Cormany and EMP's very own Ava Boozer. Congratulations to you both.
On this week's Bullock Spotlight, with tomorrow being the 20th year anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, we talked with several Empire faculty about what they remember from that fateful day. Here's Jill Vester.
20 years ago tomorrow, terrorists hijacked 4 planes and carried out suicide attacks against targets in the United States. We talked to several members of staff about that day.
On 9/11, I had stopped teaching school for that year. I'd taken a year off to pursue some other interests. At that time, I was selling insurance and doing some professional rodeoing at that time. So I was actually home that morning and actually saw the second plane on TV hit the second tower, and it was very concerning, very scary for our nation at that time, because we didn't know what was happening. There was a lot of turmoil and confusion, not knowing who was responsible at that time or what had happened. Seeing the way that it did happen, you knew right away that it wasn't an accident, obviously, that it wasn't just a coincidence, and then hearing of the other planes crashing that day as well. So it was very concerning, but you know, I always try to find the positive in the situations, and the one thing that I could definitely take away from that day and that time is that it did reunite our country. Everyone was very, I think, very patriotic for a while. They were very, concerned to find the person that was responsible for that, or the group that was responsible for that. And I think that's something that our country needs to come back to, because we're a very divided country right now.
So, as we come upon the 9/11 anniversary, I remember when that event happened vividly. I was a student at Cameron University. We were in a reading fundamentals class, and they announced what had happened over the broadcast. It was a very sad moment. Class was completely quiet, and as we dismissed the class early that day, walking through the halls of Cameron, it was very somber, quiet, see a lot of emotion. No one really knew what all was going on. We just knew that there was an explosion. We're just waiting for the aftermath of what would happen, and as that all unfolded, the sadder it got. But a very somber day, and a day that we will all remember.
I remember 9/11. I was working for Lawton Public Schools at the time. I was driving to Lawton. I heard it on the radio that there had been some commotion, didn't have the details. I got to where the school was, which was an alternative school for students who were adjudicated, basically wards of the state. They were going crazy. I had kids in 9th through 12th grade. They were just scared, yelling, screaming all over the place. So we spent the morning watching the broadcast from the news and talking about it, trying to calm the kids down more than anything. Really, there was nothing I could do to calm them down. So we did the best we could to keep everybody calm. They were literally scared. on there. One thing that sticks out in my mind more than anything was a certain student went down the hall punching holes in the wall because he was so mad at the situation. And then when I got back to Duncan, gasoline prices had already gotten up to $6, $7, and $8 a gallon. They had already upped the price of gasoline because of what had happened at that point. So those are the two things I remember most about it, is how scared the kids that I taught were at that time, and how gasoline prices just shot out of the roof that afternoon.
On 9/11, I was teaching and working at Warwick. I was the special ed teacher and special ed director. I had just pulled into the parking lot of the high school, and it came on the radio that the United States was under attack, that there had been planes that had flown into the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. I just sat there and listened to the radio. When I got out of the car and went into school, kids and teachers were gathered in the library. The library was the center place of the school at Warwick. It still is, actually. And there was a TV in there, a large TV on a cart, and they were watching the news. I just remember how horrifying that was, to see those people running from the dust and things that were traveling down the road. I have lots of images in my mind about what happened that day. I remember looking closely at a photograph later, and there was something falling, and people were jumping from the higher floors in the World Trade Center. So it was just a horrifying thing. There were lots of heroes that day. Lots of heroes that day.
On September 11th, 2001, I lived in Stillwater. I was a sophomore in college. I lived in my sorority house with my big sister, and the phone kept ringing, but I didn't want to get up to answer it because I was in college and it wasn't time for class yet. So she finally, she was on the top bunk, she finally said, "Hey, get up and answer the phone." And it was her boyfriend, so I just tossed it to her. And then went back to sleep, but she has a conversation with him, and then she's like, "Hey, turn on the TV." And I turned on the TV and I saw craziness. Like I didn't know what was happening. And so we obviously got up and we went downstairs and we spent the morning trying to figure out what was going on. I don't remember if I went to class. I don't think I did. But I remember girls that I lived with in the sorority house, they were freaking out, they were crying, they were very upset, and I was 19. I thought, am I supposed to be upset? I don't know what's going on. So I called my mom, and that was the most frightening thing, is because she didn't know how to tell me to react either, because she didn't know how to react. And so she said, "Stay in Stillwater, put some gas in your car, but just stay there and be safe." And at that point, I started thinking of my cousin, who was in the National Guard. And I thought, oh no. So I called him, and he didn't answer because he was obviously on a waiting time period. And that's when I started to get scared, because I thought, oh no, what's that going to mean for my cousin? So it was a pretty emotional day, and the weeks that followed are kind of a blur, but the scariest thing was when my mom didn't even know to tell me what to do. So
on that day, I was actually teaching here at Empire, and I had some kids come back from ag. It was about second hour, and they said, "You'll never believe what has happened." And we did not have internet or computers or smart boards, so we had to gather around my computer and we had to do the dial-up internet and get on a news station. And as we were watching the news, it just kept talking about how planes have crashed into the Twin Towers. So it wasn't until later on after school, when we got home, that we realized the destruction, the devastation, the loss of lives, and that it had been a terrorist attack. Until we heard President Bush that night speaking on the news. So it was actually a very scary time during that time, because we didn't realize what all had happened or what all had gone on. And the fact that years later, Afghanistan is still going through this, and we are still feeling the effects of that.
Almost 3,000 people were killed during this terrorist attack, which is by far the deadliest terrorist attack that we've had on American soil. Now, back to you in the Dawg Show.
Thanks, Jill. Now let's kick it back over to our elementary Bulldog broadcast.
Welcome again to the Bulldog broadcast. I'm Mason Dumas.
And I'm Annabelle Wiley. The Bulldog broadcast is your source for the latest elementary news.
Here are this week's elementary award winners.
Every week we want to recognize our elementary students for receiving achievement awards during the week. Congratulations and keep up the good work.
Also, yesterday our third grade took a field trip to the Chisholm Museum. We love to air pictures and videos of our elementary doing fun and awesome things.
If you have any videos or pictures, send us an email to the address on your screen and they might make it on the show.
Now for a look at your Bulldog forecast. Here's Jackson Field and Autumn Powers in the Bulldog Weather Center.
Thanks, guys. Today look for a high near 100 degrees with light south winds. Tonight at kickoff, look for temperatures around 90s. This weekend, be ready for sun and heat with highs near 100 and lows in the upper 60s. Now to Autumn Powers for a look at your extended forecast.
Thanks, Jackson. Next week it's going to be warm to start off the week, with highs staying near 100, but look for a slight cool down and a chance of rain starting on Wednesday, with the highs dropping to around 90 degrees. That's a look at your Bulldog weather. Now back to you in the Bulldog broadcast booth.
Thanks for that weather report.
That's all the time we have for the Bulldog broadcast. Tune back in next week for more news from the elementary. Now back to your Dawg Show studios and a look at your Bulldog sports.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Last Thursday night, the Empire Bulldog football team played their second game of the season at Velma. Unfortunately, the Dogs came up short but looked to rebound tonight with their first home game against Temple starting at 7. The junior high football team kicked off their season this past Tuesday hosting Velma. The junior high Dogs came up on the losing end of the contest and will be on the road this Monday at Alec. After some time off, the fast-pitch softball team has been competing in the Sterling tournament with games yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's a look at your week of Bulldog sports. Now back to you in the Dawg Show studio.
Thanks for the sports report. That's all the time we have for the Dawg Show this week.
Keep checking our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Empire Media Productions. There you can find all of our past Dawg Shows and other EMP content.
Content like our Bulldog Book Talk series and our interview show, The Bulldog Beat with Broderick and Carlos, and coming very soon to the podcasting site near you, the EMP Dogcast.
And if you have pictures or videos of school spirit, send us an email to mediaproductions@empireschools.org.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
And thanks for stopping by, Empire.